Hello, Culture Matters Podcast. We are back again to talk about a culture topic. If you follow me on Instagram, Doran underscore the culture man, you'll see short videos on business, life, culture, various topics. And today I'm unpacking, going more deeply, than 2, 3 minutes in a topic called why your energy is the greatest business asset. The purpose of the purpose of this longer form conversation is to take it more deeply than I am on Instagram. But follow me on Jadaran underscore the culture man for more future topics on the Culture Manners podcast. And why this is valuable is, well, I think it's actually common sense why that would be valuable, right? What role does energy play in our lives, in our business, in our employment? First, I do want to say that why your energy is your greatest business asset. That's like a clicky statement or, a rhetorical. Greatest, I don't know, but important, I would say yes. I want to move the conversation one way, though. You know, our energy is our asset or our greatest asset, let's say. How we get energy. I think the elephant in the room is I wrote down notes like, okay, the most of the discussions around going to the gym, ice baths, sleep, food, all these things that may or may not be helpful, that may or may not work. But when we're talking about energy in business, I want to move the conversation to things that I don't see talked about much. Like what I've observed is those that seek those type of aesthetic or psychological tools to increase energy. What if that's all a consequence of actually not being clear on what's next? You want to get energy in business. Well, what's your purpose? What's actually driving you? In the beginning of a business, whether one is real aware of it or not, the lack of resources are driving us. We have to sell. We have to work. We have to provide. If we're the founder of a business, there's no one else other than us. Maybe we've invested in people before there's earnings. Maybe we have a lack of capital. So let's say there's capital, there's an abundance of capital, but there's not a revenue stream. So someone is invested into an idea. Well, if they invested into an idea, they're fighting the forces of capital decay. That you've got to get a return on your capital. You have to start generating income. Even if you're not losing money, you've invested. So you got to get your money back and recouped. So you're still at a deficit, even if you have capital to start, because that capital has to earn capital or else it's losing its value, it's losing its purchasing power. So whether that's all of your own capital or it's investors, on your back as accountability to be responsible with that capital, something that is just starting, a business that is just starting, whether it's capitalized or not capitalized, whether right has money invested without yet a return in revenue greater than expenses, or whether there's nothing, it's just you and me starting our idea. Um, the capital is the time, the space, the intellectual property, and how that time and space is maximized and intellectual property is maximized to get the business going. That energy source is coming from the founder. And we're at a deficit. When we start a business, we're at a deficit. Every moment that goes by is getting a return on that time or not getting a return on that time. If we're already starting in the negative, that's a strong energy source to get into action, to move into action, to sacrifice, to make the next call, to have the next meeting, to say no to distraction, to create borders around oneself. The I want to specifically talk. Yeah, so once we have success, though, once there's an infrastructure, once there's a client base, once there's an employment, it is so easy. It actually happens as a consequence of success that people lose their purpose. The goal is achieved. Now there needs to be a new goal. There needs to be a new vision. There needs to be likely new information. This is where education comes in. And the type of psychology that starts a business has to undo itself to let new information in. And that's tough when you have a dogmatic leader, someone that actually has done everything to it through intuition and everything through gut instinct, and uh, has now, as a consequence of intuition, gut instinct, ambition, as a consequence of lacking resources, uh, economic resources, and social clout. Right? No one believes in the founder, or at least there's a psychological feeling of lack of belief. At a great, maybe it's interpersonal relationship, family, friends, all of that inversion, that invertedness, that lack, that negation of the identity, of projected identity, acceptance, but interpersonal relationships, family, that isolating psychology actually gives energy to the founder. It gives energy to the person starting something. They're more willing to say no to things so they could say yes to the thing they want. That's a natural progression to success, to succeeding economically, distributing an idea, a product, a service, what have you. So there's a lot of energy. Once a certain levels hit, and how big, or the company or the idea or whatever is different for everyone. Um, now, now all of a sudden it's like, where have it, you're watching a video like this or a clip on Instagram, Doran underscore the culture man, why your energy in business is your greatest asset. You're even thinking about it. You have more energy than ever. That's the irony there is you have more energy than ever because you have more time than ever to think, because you don't know what you're doing or what to do, because now, and there's less accountability from the lack of resources, the lack of social clout. Now maybe you have a lot of money, you have a lot of profit, or the company does, and you associate that with your own, and people actually believe in you. And now there's lots of distractions. You've gone from people doubting you to people admiring and praising whatever you've accomplished, and now you're absolutely distracted and don't know why you're depressed and anxious. Well, it's because it's actually you've succeeded, and so that's the issue. And that the energy, now this is where the distractions come in. It's like the conversations are, you see, the founder, the leader, they don't have time to work out, and they don't have time to work on themselves um well, they literally don't, when there's no business, because they are trading their time, space, and IP for the outcome, for the me, you, they, we are trading our time and space. Now, of course, we can say, oh, priorities and this, that, you make time. Agree with all that, at least in theory, right? Agree. But how things actually happen, uh, no, the driver, the driver of the business, the driver of the energy is the accountability of the marketplace, the accountability of the idea not being to come fruition. It's a vision, the ambition of something to prove, and someone or people to prove. That's a very important implicit uh, driving force of founding something. The chip on the shoulder. It's said in so many different ways, but that's purpose. That purpose lives inside of entrepreneurs when we are starting something. It lives in us. It's implicit. It has it. It's if it be, it must have must for an organization to be continue to be productive beyond that initial exciting energy sacrificial stage of the founder. That implicit purpose becoming explicit. This is where people like that's where our work, really focuses on that journey. It's going to become explicit in excuse me, narrative and symbolism and language and values, the values of the organization. That also ties into what that next vision and strategy is for the hero. That's the person at the helm of the organization. Because absent that, there's going to be depression, anxiety, a wall. All of a sudden now ice baths are happening every day just to stay up, and it's because the person actually that founded the business doesn't know what they're doing next, and is basically fired themselves from a purpose, from succeeding. And it's come at a great cost, interpersonal, like marriages and children and business partnerships. It's because it's not balanced at all to start something that is new and actually bring it across the finish line. It takes years and years and years and years of the lack of resources, lack of social clout, lack. And what makes up for it are the conversations that the entrepreneur has with himself, the the will, the force, the grit, the determination. Businesses fail because it's not for everyone. It's not just that products are bad or services are bad. That process is not for everyone. It breaks people down. It breaks us down. It tests our fortitude. So this conversation is about energy. Energy is going to come from being clear on the vision, the plan, action, like actually taking like sacrifice when you don't need to, when you're entitled, you don't have to sacrifice, being more responsible. More energy is going to come from being taking the steps to be the next version of a better leader than any workout, ice bath, program, community. Those are all of that can actually become a massive distraction and undermine shareholder value if it's not integrated in the actual business. The person's fired themselves from the role. Now they need serious therapy. And instead of working and getting shit done and building the success of the people that are now relying on them, which have now, because they've decided to work for them and with them on that journey, ultimately, which is going to be the antidote of this angst and burnout, quote unquote. I do the quote unquote because human beings don't burn out. We die. We don't burn out. We don't burn out. We die. We do hit our goals and suffer the consequences of not having a new one. We do suffer the consequences of the people that we've treated poorly throughout our journey that we haven't made amends with. We do suffer the consequences of not being responsible to the people that we've given our word to. So an example of that would be like to be more worried about oneself than about the people that work for and with them, customers and employees alike, in the habits and rituals and things that one is doing that runs a company. Like, do your job. If you're not doing your job and you're getting your energy from these surface level mediums, it's going to be, it's not going to solve any of the problems. It's just going to create more problems. And this is where you see, the proliferation of private equity. Just why not just buy out all the founders if they haven't matured to the next level of their own damn company's responsibilities? Why not just buy them out and capitalize on what they couldn't see? That's a genius business. Well, no wonder the returns of private equity are so great because we're just buying people's blind spots. We're getting 10 cents on the dollar. Get this person out of here. They don't know what the hell they're doing. And this is the sad part. They could. It might be you. Who are your advisors? What books are you reading? What courses are you taking? Like, what's your next goal? So I wrote down, so the common culture would be, the easy, why is energy your greatest asset? Well, energy is your greatest asset because people are following you. You're influencing people. Your energy is what you're giving to your customers that trust you and your employees that admire you and want to, or at least respect you. And their goals are tied to your company's goals and they model your behavior and the spirit is working through you. Well, but the common culture is going to say, yeah, so to increase your energy, we got to go to the gym, exercise, eat right, take ice baths, sleep, food, all these obvious, like common sense things that actually, at the end of the day, no, we don't need to do any of those things. You're going to sleep. Naturally, you're going to sleep what you need to sleep. You're going to eat the way you want to eat. But that's not what it's going to do. Well, that's not what's going to get you the energy to succeed in your job as an employee of your own damn business. If you're the founder and CEO, this is what's going to help. Purpose. What's your vision? What's the plan? What action steps are you taking? What are you giving up? Now, when no one's there to tell you, oh, you got to give something up, you're not going to give shit up. And so you're not going to be happy. Because that's one of the paradoxes of freedom. It comes from discipline. You need a team that tells you the truth, customers that you like, employees that you respect, advisors that are of high integrity and intellect and education, accountability and responsibility, that feedback loop of everything I just mentioned is accountability, influencing your personal responsibility as it relates to your job. If you're not doing your job, your conscience will know. You'll be in a defensive state, and it'll be everybody's fault but your own. and then you'll hate your company, and you'll want to sell it tomorrow, and you're going to sell it for less than it's worth because you're going to attract the wrong types of people in your life that are going to take advantage of your weakness. And it's all because you're doing too much bullshit that has nothing to do with work whatsoever. It's all additives that may or may not happen. The energy, your energy is going to come from having ambition, having something to drive towards that's bigger than yourself. And if you're like, if that's not in you anymore, then you got to retire. But you don't want to half retire because that just screws everybody. It's like a president that's not working every day. There's a reason presidents get old, very quickly when they're in office because they work their asses off for hundreds of millions or billions of people for their benefit. It's a sacrificial trade off. So how to get energy is not the ice baths in the gym and all that shit. That's a different conversation. And I'm pro all that stuff, but it's a different conversation. Direct communication, less gossip, slander, BS, telling the truth. You can't do any of that if you don't know what you're doing and why you're doing it, and how, and have some understanding of how, and then work with other people to do it. And that's where having the, continued education and all. So the purpose thing is going to come. We're going to lose our purpose as we hit our goals because we need new goals and new education to get to the next level. And that's ultimately um, why energy is the greatest business asset, or an important business asset, is because business is how people and how we provide value to one another as consumers, as creators. It's all energy. And a disengaged people, that's a hell. Follow me at Doran _ the culture man on Instagram for more of these culture topics, and we will see you next time.